Welcome to the Green and Gold Weekly here at thegrowingtruth.net, where the legends speak. I am Joe Pritchard, and with me is Don Horn, and we are both rather excited about how the Packers performed this past week.
Yeah, you're certainly right, Joe. I tell you, I mean, I was certainly impressed, and a lot of people that I've been talking to this last week since that game are just saying, you know, I'm kind of echoing what they say, but they said, my gosh, he said the Packers are playing like the Packers of old. I mean, they look like they're playing, they're playing championship football right now. They're looking great in pretty much every category. So I just, hope and pray they keep it going. They've got 5 in a row now.
Yep, 5 in a row, and all 5 of those came since Aaron Rodgers was talking about running the table. Well, they just might do it.
Yep, just like my son was over here earlier talking to it. He's a big fan. He says people should listen to Aaron a little more closely when he says, relax, we got this, we're going to run the table. He means it.
Yeah, he's been a pretty good prognosticator so far. He might have himself a career in TV after he's all set.
Yeah, they look good. They look good against the Vikings. Like I was discussing earlier, even though they're on the short end of most of the stats, I think, as far as yards and passes, total yards and pass and everything, they came out on top. I don't think the game was as close as the score was, in the indication. But the bottom line is, who comes out on top, who scores the most points, and we've got 5 in a row now, and that's good. The teams that are playing great in December and January are the ones you got to watch out for, and hope they continue it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the 5-game winning streak's the longest winning streak this season by any NFL team or any NFC team, I believe. Actually,
that might be as far as the NFC team goes. I'd have to double check on that, but
I think 5 in a row. Yeah, 5 in a row, and we'll go for 6 this week. This all the marbles are in Detroit this week. So, and they moved the game to Sunday night. They moved the game to Sunday night, which is good. They're going to get a huge audience for that one.
Yeah, it could very well become a virtual playoff game. And just to get back to your last point here, the 5 consecutive is definitely the longest current streak in the NFC. So that's telling us that the Packers are firing on all cylinders at the right time. But going back to Detroit here, both teams are sitting there possibly needing to win the game, not only to win the division, but to even make the playoffs. So should Washington win in the 3:25 time slot, Central anyway, that means that the Packers and Lions are basically in a playoff game come Sunday night.
Really? Yeah, could they could very well be. So, their destinies, our destinies in our own hands. So let's just take care of business.
That's the easiest way to do it. Now, if the Redskins lose beforehand, it is still a battle for the division. Both teams would be in the playoffs. It'd be a question of who goes where, and that's a little bit more complicated. And we'll just leave the talk of that for other people. But simple. Packers win. Yep. They're in the playoffs, and they are the NFC North champions again. 4th straight season they're playing for the NFC North title in Week 17. So that should show you how competitive this division has been as of late.
It sure is, and like you said earlier, I'm sure glad they're playing the best football they've played all year, in my opinion. Of course, they've gone through those injuries, and people are getting well now, and they're playing very good football in December. Carry that into January, and hopefully we'll just that'll catapult us to have success in the playoffs. But Detroit's got a good team. I'm impressed with Detroit. They stayed with Dallas pretty well that game the other night, and they hung with them, and then they kind of fell apart in the second half. They had a couple of bad calls, I believe, that kind of got their daubers down or whatever. But Detroit's got one heck of a team, and I think, as I mentioned to you earlier, a few weeks back, they were one of my dark horses as far as maybe, going all the way. They were playing pretty good football back then, but since then they've lost 2 in a row. They seem to be good for that late in the season lately. Yeah, they're kind of stumbling. They're kind of leaking oil and here as they come down the stretch. So again, the teams that play the better football in December and January, those are the ones that usually have the success. So let's just hope we get that when we go to the Motor City.
Yeah, first time the Packers have been finishing the season in Detroit since 1993, and the last time they met them in Detroit for the final game of the regular season, it was also a game for the division title. It didn't go so well for the Packers, but the next week was the first playoff game that the Packers played under Brett Favre, and that ended just a little bit better.
Wow. Was Barry Sanders there then, too?
Yeah, Barry was actually not in the division title game, but he was there for the playoff game, and that's the one where you see Favre scrambling to the left, turning his entire body, and throwing a bullet to the right to Sterling Sharp, who's wide open.
Yeah.
Not many quarterbacks could do that. Not many quarterbacks would even dare attempt that. But
yeah, that's true.
With Favre, you could get the best throws out of nowhere sometimes.
Yeah, we've all, as far as me being an old quarterback, we've all tried that from time to time without very much success. That's a big no-no. Is run to your left and turn and throw to the right. And I've seen Brett do it successfully, and there's a guy out here in Colorado that's pretty good at that too. At one time, was John Elway. He was pretty good doing that same thing, but in the end, it's still it's not a good idea to do that very often. Except unless you're an exceptional quarterback like those guys are.
No, you don't want to go to that well too often, but when it connects, it's pretty magical, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is. That's for sure.
All right, so going into this, I actually heard an amazing stat today regarding the Lions when they have Matthew Stafford at quarterback, who they've had since 2009. From what I was hearing, it sounded like the Lions have won only 5 games total with Matthew Stafford at quarterback against teams that have ended up with a winning record at the end of the season. That's a jaw-dropping statistic considering this is his 7th, 8th season.
Yeah,
wow.
That's a stat that's kind of hard to believe because I think he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I've always been high on him, and I always said that if you give Matt a supporting staff, which they've had the last couple of years, he's going to show how good he really is. But man, that's that kind of that stat you just outlined, Joe, is kind of surprising. But again, it's that carries over to the teams that kind of trip and falter in December. They if they can't close the deal, you're not going anywhere, and they're never going to be a champion.
No, that is for sure. Now Stafford does not have Calvin Johnson this year, as Johnson retired over the off season. But I remember back in the 90s when the Packers lost Sterling Sharp, it seemed to make Brett Favre a better quarterback because he couldn't just sit there and fire bullets to Sharp all day long like he had done his first few seasons. It required him to see the field more and be a better distributor. Do you think that's something that might be helping Stafford these days?
That's a good point. That's a good key point and a good analysis on your part, Joe. That very well could be. It's gonna cause him to use his arsenal a little better than what he has before. He can't just rely on 1 or 2 people. And and getting back to our Packers, and Aaron and Jordy Nelson, man, those guys. They're playing. Jordy came back off an injury last year, and he started a little slow, but he's getting better and better every week. It looks like here towards the end. So, but Aaron still, he spreads that thing around a lot. He spreads that ball around a lot. They got a, great offensive game plan, I think, and I know they had it the last 2 or 3 or 4 games, and hopefully, they can put together a hell of a game plan this week against the Lions and carry that offense through. And Clay Matthews is coming back a little bit better too now. His shoulder's getting a little stronger. It looked like whatever. He's playing better ball now too. They're all playing good ball. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's been great to see the past few weeks. It just feels like the team's playing with more confidence again. Rodgers seems to not be as worried about trying to get out of the pocket and making a big play. He seems to be confident that his receiver is going to get open. and that seems to coincide with the more time Jordy has had to heal. So I wonder if Jordy being back to full strength like it looks like he is really what the key that ignited the Packers offense here in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I think that has something to do with it. I know it sure maybe ignited, gave Aaron a little boost or whatever, because when he's had to go to a key player, for a key play and key situation. It seems like Jordy's always there to be on the accommodating receiving end or whatever pass that might be. But good thing about Aaron too is that every now and then the defense wins one or two, and they're going to sack you. They're going to they're going to hit you for a loss, or is there going to be a breakdown or something, and you take the loss, you take the loss of yardage and the down or whatever, and you come back and you got the arsenal and you got the running backs, you got the that Ty Montgomery's. He still presses me all the time, and he's got the arsenal, and he's got the offense, he's got the players that are capable of coming up with the plays and moving that ball downfield. They don't get rattled. They don't seem to get rattled when things go wrong, and they will. Football is a game of mistakes, and mistakes are made all too often, and usually it's the team that makes the fewer mistakes that's going to win the game. But that's just all part of the game. But they don't seem to get rattled when something goes haywire. And that's great. That's a good sign of a championship team.
No, they seem to really have their confidence back as far as that goes. Now, you were saying that mistakes can lose a team a game. Well, the Packers won the turnover battle once again this past week. The Vikings turned the ball over twice, and twice doesn't seem like a big number, but when you're not getting any turnovers, the Packers didn't give up the ball once that way, and can start to slide. And the Packers jumped out to a quick early lead, kind of held up a Vikings charge in the second quarter, and just kind of cruised the rest of the way to a victory. Vikings put up a few more points late in the game to make the score look pretty, but all in all, the Packers had this one right from the get-go and didn't let it go.
Yeah, I think so. They jumped out early and they dominated, and I think they let the Vikings know what was a better team last Saturday, and the Vikings knew that. And you're right, that one stat, I think that's one of the few stats that the Packers came out on top was the turnovers, because everything else I think they were on the short end of everything. But even the number of plays, I believe Minnesota had many more plays offensively than the Pack did. But the results are the scores and moving the ball up and downfield and scoring. And Green Bay just dominated from the get-go. You're totally correct there.
Yeah, and the Packers only committed 3 penalties as well. The Vikings were committed 8. So between the turnovers and the penalties, the Vikings gave back more than they achieved by having the ball longer and throwing the ball a lot more. Bradford threw the ball 50 times.
I know.
That's usually not the recipe for a victory.
No, no. When you usually, today's game, if you throw it 40 or more times, that's you're usually fighting to come back or whatever. But every game plan is a little bit different, of course. Depends on who you're playing and where you're playing. Your team and who's injured, that kind of thing. But you're right. When you throw that many passes and have a lot of incompletions, that stops the clock and slows the game down, gives you more chances, maybe to more plays or whatever. But who cares? I mean, Green Bay just totally dominated that, and that game's behind us now. Now we just get ready for the Rumble in Motor City, Monday night or Sunday night. Sunday night, January 1st. Kick off the new year with the victory, right?
That would be a great way to kick off the new year. Now, you've been in this situation before where you win and you go on, you lose, you go home. Is there a different feel in the locker room, or do you just don't want to feel anything different because you feel it'll take you out of your game?
Well, you try to approach it like any other game as much as you possibly can, and that's what it is. But the burden of knowing that if you make a key mistake or if you blow a play or whatever, you're going to go home. That's always sitting in the back of your mind. But if you're coached well and have a great game plan, and if you don't make the mistake of trying to do, each player maybe, especially a key, a key player that tries to do it all themselves, or all do everything himself. You got to rely on the 10 other guys on that team, whether it's offense or defense. It's a team effort, but sometimes one or two people might try too hard, and when they try too hard, that's when they make the mental mistakes and that type of thing. But if you're coached well, which I think they are, and have a good game plan, they should be okay. If any team is going to feel that, I think it's going to be Detroit again, because they lost 2 in a row now. They're going to come out fighting. They don't want to lose 3 in a row, of course. And last game of the season, and this being a key game for the division title, potentially, and they're going to do everything they can to win that. And they're good. I mean, we can't count them out. I think they're better than Minnesota by far. And we better be ready for them. And I hope McCarthy is. He's got that team. He's got them rolling. Keep that train going down the track. That's what I want to see.
Right, so it's probably a good thing that they're running into the Lions when they are, with the Packers having everything going their way lately, and the Lions trying to scramble to keep what they had. I mean, there's a scenario out there where the Lions could end up with a first-round bye with a victory, but there's also scenarios where the Lions are out of the playoffs, mainly them losing and Washington winning. So it's got to be a mix of emotions out Detroit way, knowing that they could be as high as number 2 and as low as not even coming back next week.
That's right. That's true. They could be on top, or they could be out. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That
probably is going to mess with a younger team, or a team that's less experienced with these types of games. Like we mentioned before, the Packers have been in that division title game this will be the 4th straight year where the Packers are playing for the division on the final day of the season. The Lions, not so much. I think they were involved maybe in one of them, if I'm not mistaken, but they haven't been here as much as the Packers have.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, experience in this situation is probably going to be a benefit to the Packers, I would think.
Yeah, on paper it is, but you never know until kickoff. What's going through those players' mind. That's why those coaches have to be focused. These guys have to be focused. They're professional in every way, shape, or form, and they have to approach this game as a professional that they are, and get the business done. Because as I said earlier, Detroit, their mission is to win that game Sunday night too, and they're not going to lie down and die, at least not early on. We're going to have to be ready. We're going to have to tighten our chin straps and get ready to get in there and battle for it. But I think we're the team that should come out on top for sure. But they're a good team. They're a good team.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers, the trends, the feelings seem to be going our way, but that's why they play the games. That's why you go out there every Sunday, and
that's why you go. And that's like Coach Lombardi used to. It's one thing to get there, and another thing to stay there. And the hard thing is keep these guys playing, keep them up, playing at a championship level. Week in and week out, especially with 16 games, and they just have to have the mental toughness to pull it off. But sometimes, you have a letdown here and there by a key person or key personnel or whatever. You just can't let that happen. But unfortunately, that's human nature. And so, the coaches have to be cognizant of that, and I'm sure they are. Nobody can have a letdown on this, this last game. It's too important.
Now, I guess, I know you've been in this situation before where you've had the Coach Lombardi behind you. You've had the team that's been there before. Have you ever been on the other side of the coin, though, with a team that hadn't been there before much, maybe at a different level of football even, where it just felt like, hey, we've gotten this far. Do we have what it takes to get to the top here?
Yeah, and that's a lot of it, too. It's just the mental discipline that you have. Some people just don't have that. Some teams they don't know how to finish. are we really as good as this, or they start doubting themselves, or they just anyway they start questioning if they should really be there. I guess they don't have the confidence, as you pointed out earlier, that the Packers seem to have. They're playing with that old-time confidence that they've shown over the years, and sometimes that's all too often that's the case. If you haven't been there before, or if you've been there before and you always get the short end of the stick, you go, well, here it goes again. Here we go again. We're here, but we know what the outcome's going to be. And if they don't have the mental toughness to overcome that, they're going to have a negative reaction.
The task is simple for the Packers: win, and they're the division champions. Lose, and trust your fate to somebody else. Any final thoughts for this upcoming matchup, or anything else with the Packers?
The final thoughts would be what my old coach in college used to always say, Don Horn at San Diego State: score early and score often. Score early and score often. That's what I want Aaron to do, and the offense, and I want the defense to come through. And Coryell's always defensive philosophy was 3 and out. 3 and out. I want the Lions to go 3 and out. I want the Packers to go down and score. That's what I want. So I think the Packers should win by, I want to say probably 12 to 14 points. I don't even know what the spread is, but I think it's going to be that kind of one-sided.
Kind of another game like we saw this past week, hopefully.
I think so. At least I'm praying for it. That's what I expect. I don't expect anything less than that. Let's put it that way, Joe.
I like the way you think on that. Well, I don't think I could sum it up much better than that here. So we'll let you go for this week. For Don Horn, my name is Joe Pritchard, and you've been listening to Growing Truth, where the legends speak.